Hi, this is Jason from Horrific Nightmares, back to do another segment of About Last Nightmare. This is a segment I do with my very good friend Nick, the Last Shoegazer, in which we do a two-part review. My part is basically facts and figures and some interesting things. His part is the overall synopsis, our take on the film, and our overall rating. Now, today we had the immense pleasure of watching The Incubus. We've actually been talking about doing this for a while. We skipped this one to do Queen of Blood, which was a mistake. But if you remember my review, but we finally got around to it. This, of course, is the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray. We both have it. This is the old school cover, the original one sheet of the film. I'm going to let Nick show the other cover because he has the slipcover from Vinegar Syndrome, which is very nice. I mean, they do such a good job at restoring films. Now, there is a blurb in the beginning about how they restored the film, and the last act was taken from 4 different sources, I believe, and was really worked on. And to me, it looked great. There are some problems, but it's probably the best we'll ever see it. So it's definitely worth the money. Definitely worth the money. Now, Incubus is a 1982 film, which runs approximately 93 minutes, and is directed by John Ho. Now, he, of course, is responsible for the Hammer film, The Twins of Evil, which is a favorite of mine. He's also responsible for The Legend of Hell House, which is also a favorite of mine. Fantastic movie. He did Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, which is a very good film with Peter Fonda. I kind of went through this phase a few years ago. Actually, it's been more than a few years ago, probably the early 2000s, where I was kind of into car chase films, and I wanted to see all of the classics. Of course, Vanishing Point, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, and Gone in 60 Seconds were the ones that I checked out first. So, I am familiar with that film. He also did Escape from Witch Mountain, and also a Disney film, The Watcher in the Woods, which has a ton of atmosphere. So this guy is definitely, he knows how to create atmosphere. Now this stars John Cassavetes, who plays Sam Cordell. He passed away on February the 3rd of 1989 at the age of 59 due to cirrhosis of the liver. He, of course, was the husband in Rosemary's Baby. He was in The Fury, played the bad guy. Spoiler alert. And he was also in... That's it. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see. We also have Erin Noble, who plays Jenny Cordell, his daughter. She did a lot of television in the 80s. She also was in the movie The Amateur with John Savage, I believe. Yeah, John Savage, which is actually a very good film. And Class of 1984, which I do need to pick up the Blu-ray of that. It also has Duncan McIntosh as Tim Galen. He, of course, was in Deadline, and a movie that I don't think I've ever seen a DVD release of called Murder by Phone, which was a popular horror movie in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. It was either in the late 70s or the early 80s. Now, this is the type of movie, and I don't know if this is actually a phrase, but if it's not, then it's mine now. I'm going to coin it. It's called a slasher plus. In the 80s, of course, every weekend you would find a slasher movie in the movie theaters. And they were extremely popular in the 80s, and that's how I started watching horror movies, and is my favorite subgenre and my favorite decade of horror. Of course, because of the 1978 film Halloween, but if you ask me, it was from the 1974 film Black Christmas, but that's just my opinion. But anyway, back to Slasher Plus. It seems like there was a lot of movies in the 80s trying to make bank off of the whole slasher craze by throwing in another element. For example, movies like The Unseen, I consider a slasher plus because it's very much done like a slasher by the book. but then there's a whole nother aspect of the film which makes it kind of not a slasher. If that makes sense. Nightmare on Elm Street I consider a slasher plus. Yes, it is a slasher, but it has a supernatural element to it. And so on and so forth. Now, a couple interesting things about this movie. David Cronenberg was originally slated to direct this film. Um, yeah, I think that would have been kind of interesting. I've always been a big David Cronenberg fan. I don't know if it fits in his style of filmmaking, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that one. Also, John Cassavetes rewrote 80% of his dialogue in the film, which I thought was pretty cool. The acting in this movie is very good, very good. Yeah, really cool. And of course, what I think is the most interesting part about the film, and it's weird because every time I've watched it, and I think this is my third time watching it, and I always forget, is that Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden fame, the lead singer from Iron Maiden, of course, he makes a appearance in this film. Now, anyone who knows history of Iron Maiden knows that Bruce Dickinson was in the band Samson before he was in Iron Maiden. And the band Samson makes an appearance in the film. And it's a really cool song. Nick and I definitely were talking about the soundtrack and maybe getting it someday if it's available. But I just thought that was really cool about the film. But for some reason, I always forget he's in it. And I'm watching it last night, I'm like, hey, that's Bruce Dickinson. Oh, yeah, that's right, he was in this film. Yeah, so my brain is not exactly on point all the time, so what can I say? But I have always liked this film. As I said, it is a slasher plus, and what I mean by that is it very much takes on the shape of a slasher by how it's filmed, the things that are in it. I'm not going to tell you exactly what. I want you guys to see it because this is actually a very good film. But it takes basically a left turn throughout half the movie. About half the movie in. Anyway, a few more things about the film that I find interesting. About a half an hour was cut out of the film, and this would have explained the movie a lot more. To anyone who's seen this film, the end is kind of vague. And I'm not going to get into spoilers. I'm just going to say that the end is vague. And even Nick asked me, so who is this? And what is that? And why is this? And I really can't tell him. There is a video on YouTube that kind of explains what they had in mind for the film. Unfortunately, the half an hour that was cut out, which I think would have made this film an instant classic, is lost. So it's very unfortunate. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Definitely check out Nick's Part 2, which, like I said, will go into the synopsis and our overall take and rating on the film. So definitely check out his part. And if you like what you see in here, hit that like button and subscribe. And until next time, peace.